Hey guys, Clint here, Horn and Fiber. I've got a powder horn that needs a base plug. I thought we'd turn a Beehive. Let's get started. Since I'm going to be turning walnut, I'm going to be wearing a respirator through most of this video, which means a lot of what follows is going to be voiceover. I'll do my best to anticipate questions and try to answer them, but if you have specific questions, please leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. While you're there, if you would, give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. We sure would appreciate it. Thanks. Traditionally, many types of wood were used to turn base plugs, including walnut, cherry, maple, and chestnut. My choice of walnut for this project is simply a matter of personal choice. Here I'm using a 1/4 inch wide parting tool to create about a 3/8 inch step. This will eventually be the tapered mortise that will fit inside the horn. Initially, I just want to reduce the diameter of our blank down to about the same diameter as the horn, or just enough to fit inside. Once I feel like I'm close, I'll stop the lathe and check it against the base of the horn. Once the step fits inside the horn, I switch over to the skew and start cutting my angle. I want to try to match the inside angle of the horn as best I can. Again, I initially eyeball this. I go slow and check often. I can always remove more wood, but it's hard to put it back on. I use a piece of charcoal to blacken the inside of the horn. I then place the horn back on the taper and rotate the base gently, trying to hold the horn as steady as I can. This will leave charcoal in areas where the taper and the horn are coming in contact with each other and show me where I still need to remove more wood. I repeat this step over and over until I've got a good tight fit. I'm a firm believer in not rushing this step, as it's crucial for creating a watertight seal between the base plug and the horn. I like to tell folks I sort of sneak up on the taper. In the end, our goal is to create about a 3/8 inch long taper that matches the taper of the inside of the horn. This will create a nice snug fit that will allow us to create that watertight seal. The next thing I'm going to do is reduce the diameter of our blank to just larger than the diameter of the horn. I don't want to take it all the way down to finished dimensions yet, but I want to remove a lot of the mass, just so I can get it close to where we need to be. Because a solid wooden beehive would be extremely heavy, we're going to hollow this base plug. This will not only lighten the base plug, but will also increase the carrying capacity of the horn. We begin by drilling a 1/2 inch hole 2 inches deep into the base plug. This will act as sort of a depth gauge when we start hollowing it out using the lathe tools. Hey guys, I wanted to take a minute and take a break from the respirator and talk about some considerations and some things that we have to pay attention to before we do this next step. So here's the taper that fits inside our horn. We're pretty much done with it and don't want to touch it anymore. This is close to the finished diameter of our horn, and I've highlighted it with charcoal just to make sure that I don't take any more off of it right now. I'll do this final removal once I turn it around in the lathe. This is the depth of our cavity. I marked it simply by gauging the inside of the horn and making a mark on the outside. I've left about a 1/2 inch thickness here just to give myself some clearance at the back of the horn. This is about where our notch for our rear strap attachment will be, and then this is the end of our finial here. Keeping the base plug in this position, we're going to start roughing in our profile. These lines will help us visualize where all these components will be. I have to throw in a little disclaimer here that I have never had any formal training as a wood turner. I started my turning career on the tailgate of my truck with this lathe, and I'm pretty much self-taught. So for all the professional wood turners out there who are watching my technique and cringing, I apologize. Unfortunately, I forgot to hit the record button before I cut the base plug loose from the blank. Hopefully this would not be a difficult step for anybody to accomplish, as it could be done with a parting tool like I did, or even a handsaw. We're now ready to turn this piece around in the chuck and start refining its profile and shaping our finial. Here you can clearly see why I waited to take this to the final thickness after I turned it around in the chuck. You can see how there's just enough play in this chuck because, you know, wood turning lathes don't have the same tolerance that metal turning lathes do. And so by turning the plug around in the chuck, it's changed kind of where our center is. So we're removing a little bit more material here than we have here. So this all has to kind of recenter with it turned this way. We'll turn the final thickness now that we've got it turned in the chuck.
taking a break from this thing for a few minutes, checking on our fit and where we are with mass and everything. Still a little bulky. We're kind of fat back here. The back end of the horn is a little on the heavy side. So we got plenty of more material that we could take off here and slender this thing on down. Even with our 2-inch cavity in there, plenty of material there. I'm going to get the profile established like I want it. Once I feel really good with that, I'm going to come back in and we'll cut the raised bands sort of in it that give it that beehive look, and hopefully that'll make everything pop. So back to the lathe. All right, I'm pretty happy with that profile. I think it balances well on the horn, doesn't overpower it. We're ready to start laying out our rings or our bands on our beehive. We'll get those cut in, and we're almost finished.
Make the first band or two about 3/8 wide, and then get progressively narrower as I move toward the tip. Using my pencil lines as a guide, I use a skew to cut incised lines all the way around the horn. Really and truly, this is all I need to do to define it as a beehive. And I've certainly done base plugs in the past that this was the only turning I did to it. However, I encourage you to study original powder horns, whether actual examples or pictures in books, to get different ideas on how to turn a base plug.
With that, we're pretty much done with the turning. Kind of see overall what we're going to look like. At this point, I'm going to put it back on the lathe. I'm going to raise the grain using alcohol. I'll sand it with 220. I'll raise the grain again using alcohol and sand it with 320. Then we'll put a coat of stain on it. Probably hit it with a little bit of steel wool, and finally a coat of paste wax or beeswax to seal it up. I use alcohol to raise the grain instead of water just because it dries a little bit faster and allows me to move along quicker. All right, we'll let this dry overnight. Come back in the morning, finish it up. See you then. Good morning. With our stain good and dry, we're going to hit it with a round of 4-0 steel wool just to smooth everything up. Then we'll put a coat of Johnson's paste wax on it just as an initial sealer. And that'll be it for now. Once after it's installed in the horn, I'll finish it a little bit more as I finish the rest of the horn. But I think that's going to wrap it up here. So let's finish this up real quick. Well, there's our finished beehive. If you're making one for yourself, I hope you found something in this video that was useful to you. If you have additional questions or comments, please leave them below. We sure would appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. And as always, keep the fire burning.